So, let's talk about Marseille. This is a city where every single building tells a piece of a much larger story. We're going to see how 2,600 years of trade, conflict, and total reinvention are literally etched into the stone, the concrete, and the glass of one of Europe's oldest cities. Let's dive in.
You know, this one idea right here, contrast. It's really the key to understanding this place. See, Marseille doesn't have one single perfect look. No, its beauty, its real character, comes from this constant, fascinating clash of different styles and different eras, all living right next to each other.
And what fuels all that contrast? Just an incredible amount of history. I mean, we're talking about 2,600 years of people living here continuously. That's older than ancient Rome. You better believe every single one of those eras left its mark, its own architectural fingerprint on the city.
Okay, so first up, let's really get into this idea. We're going to look at Marseille as a city of layers, where you can literally see history stacked right on top of itself and right next to itself.
And this is exactly what we're talking about. You know, you could be standing right by the ruins of an ancient Greek dock while looking up at this super modern 21st century glass museum. Or you could wander from a street of these tiny old stone houses and suddenly, boom, you're facing a massive concrete apartment building. In any other city, this might feel weird, right? But in Marseille, that's just the vibe. It works.
All right, so let's peel back those layers and go all the way to the beginning. We're starting with the city's ancient and medieval foundations, the stuff that really set the stage for everything that was going to come later.
The city's early days really tell a story of changing priorities. So it all kicks off way back in 600 BCE. Greek sailors picked this spot because, well, it's got a perfect natural harbor. Then the Romans show up and they bring their engineering genius. Organized roads, aqueducts, the whole deal. And by the 11th century, the whole game changes again. Now it's all about defense. And you see these huge stone fortresses going up to protect the city.
And the craziest part? You can still walk right through that history today. If you go to Les Paniers, the city's oldest district, you're not just in some historic-style neighborhood. You're literally walking on streets laid out in the Middle Ages. Those tight, winding alleys, they were designed that way for defense, and they've somehow survived for centuries.
So with this strong foundation of defense and trade, the city was just primed for an explosion of growth. As money started pouring into the port, Marseille began to show off its new wealth, etching its ambition right into the cityscape with these grand, confident designs.
The 1800s, man, that was Marseille's golden age. Old medieval streets were torn down to make way for these wide, elegant boulevards like La Canebière. Ornate apartment buildings with beautiful stone facades and these intricate iron balconies started popping up everywhere. This was the city showing off, building incredible monuments like the Palais Longchamp just to celebrate getting fresh water.
And kind of watching over this whole scene, you've got this icon, Notre Dame de la Garde. I mean, you can't miss it, with its unique striped pattern and that mix of Romanesque and Byzantine styles. But really, its whole purpose, it was built as this beacon of protection, sitting on the highest hill, looking out for the sailors and the port that was the city's lifeblood.
But of course, that golden age couldn't last forever. The 20th century brought conflict and destruction, and it forced the city to rebuild in a completely new, kind of radical way, a way that would actually pave the path for its big rebirth in the 21st century.
So World War II hits, and it hits Marseille hard, especially around that historic port. After the war, it wasn't about grandeur anymore. It was just about survival, about necessity. There was this urgent need for housing. So the new motto was basically function over form. And the material of choice? Concrete. And that leads us to the big debate around the city's most famous, or maybe infamous, modern building. When this thing went up, a lot of people were horrified. So what was it?
Okay, so what we're looking at is the Unité de Députation, a really radical experiment by the architect Le Corbusier. He imagined it as a self-contained vertical city. Think about it. Inside this one giant concrete block, you had apartments, you had shops, a rooftop garden, everything a whole community would need. At first, people hated its raw, brutalist look, but today it's seen as this hugely important landmark of modern architecture.
Okay, so after some tough decades, the 21st century comes along and just sparks this huge renewal. The big catalyst? Getting named European Capital of Culture back in 2013. That one event kicked off massive redevelopment projects, especially on the waterfront, with this new focus on creating architecture that honors the city's past while really looking to the future.
And if you want one image that sums up this whole new philosophy, this is it.
On one side, you have the historic Fort Saint-Jean, a symbol of Marseille's tough, defensive past. On the other, the Museum, a stunning, contemporary museum. And connecting them, a simple footbridge. It's not just a bridge, it's this powerful physical statement about linking the city's deep history with its modern self.
So after all that, what have we got? What is Marseille's architectural identity, really? Well, let's wrap it up by reading the complex, honest story its buildings tell us.
I mean, a walk through Marseille really is like stepping into a time machine. In a single day, you can see the foundations of a Greek settlement, touch the stone of a medieval fortress, stroll down a grand 19th century boulevard, stand in the shadow of a modernist concrete giant, and then walk into a bold new museum. And the thing is, they all just coexist.
And maybe that's the most important takeaway here. Marseille's architecture is honest. It's expressive. It's not trying to be perfect or to cover up its scars. It doesn't hide its rough edges. And that raw authenticity, well, that's exactly what makes it so unforgettable. So that kind of leaves us with one last thought for you. The buildings all around us are like storybooks made of stone and concrete and glass. So next time you're walking around your own town or city, just look up and ask yourself, what story are these buildings trying to tell me?